Jesus freak here. You can probably tell, when I'm recording this, I'm still a bit, I'm physically drained. I did a bit of running around yesterday. In the morning, I went to the store. Picked up some of those, hoping I'd have an easier time beating the heat. Then, in the afternoon, I went to a rally in Buffalo. And I mean, it's a left-wing rally. That's why I marked it as such when I uploaded like 20 minutes from there. Because it's like, most people watch my channel aren't left-wing. Y'all are righties. But it's how I involve myself. My politics are mainly a function of survival. Surprisingly, now y'all know I've said it before, I'm United Methodist. There was an email newsletter that the United Methodist Church had sent out shortly before the rallies. Now, the Buffalo one was just one of many. They were encouraging their parishioners to go to these rallies. Now, I don't know. I'm probably the only one who is very openly United Methodist. I mean, I had a Bible with me, and I was carrying a protest sign that had a very United Methodist loaded statement on it. But no, I wasn't representing the church or anything. I was there as myself. I did get involved in a bit of in some of the call and response stuff. I made a couple cat calls. One of the ones is dinos must go extinct because New York has a problem with people who know they can't win on a Republican ticket, so they pretend to flip and run Democrat, and then when they get into office, they show their colors. This happened in the city with Eric Adams. There are actual Republicans toward more of the center of the, central New York, the North Country. And some of them are pretty hardcore, Elise Stefanik is the Marjorie Taylor Greene of upstate New York. But when you get to like Western New York, New York City, you're not going to be able to run as a Republican and get anywhere. So, you do have a lot of dinos in the state and local governments. But yeah, my voice is kind of blown out. I can't do that much yelling. I did notice It looked like the main people behind the specific rally in Buffalo were the League of Women Voters. I saw a few unions there. I noticed NISA, which is the teachers' union. Um, I was mostly, by the time I was doing much of anything, I was near where I think it was a college or university professors union had a few people there. They had someone with water bottles. That's because at some point I was wiped out badly enough that I needed water. And I just stuck around except when I started, walking around with the camera. I was like, get about 15 minutes of footage and upload it. I believe I uploaded 21 minutes and 9 seconds. I stopped it right before they did this thing that relied on a parody of Brick House by the Commodores. If I had gone further, if I'd uploaded the Brick House bit, I would have gotten struck. Now, the end bit, this rally was sort of in honor of John Lewis, and they played, I think it was a commencement speech that he had given a few years back toward the end, and then they had a thing with some live recording of Pete Seeger doing We Shall Overcome. I think it doesn't get brought up a bit, We Shall Overcome kind of had a weird history. It actually originated not entirely from the folk scene, but what happened was you had a hymn, This World is One Great Battlefield. It was written by Charles Tindley, black Methodist preacher. Wrote a lot of hymns around 1906 or so. And the chorus for that hymn kind of got detached and then took on a life of its own. I'll overcome someday. I'll overcome someday. If in my heart I do not yield, I'll overcome someday. And that kind of evolved into We Shall Overcome. I'll overcome became We'll Overcome. And then, it turned into an anthem. But that's where, from what I can tell, that's where it came from. Now, I've made pretty clear, I'm politically left-wing. I'm not heavily left. In a lot of respects, I tend to take a live and let live approach. But I'm a pragmatist. My family was the 1980s and 1990s equivalent of the Tea Party, the MAGA movement. What happened to me? Why didn't I go that way? I did, actually. I voted for George W. Bush in 2000. And then a few things happened in 2001. Me basically pounding the pavement for months looking for work with no results, having to be on welfare because there just wasn't anything there. Eventually, I got on SSI disability a couple years later, so I didn't have to rely on that. But a lot of that mindset that, I grew up around, if you rely on handouts, you're a damn mooch, you're a waste of oxygen, you should just drop the meat bag, stuff like that. And I felt that was unfair. Some people just get dealt a bad hand through no fault of their own. And I'm like, I don't ask for much. I just want to survive. And that's the crux of my politics, so to speak. And because I feel that, in some cases, the social safety net is not only warranted, but absolutely necessary for some people. Oh, that should be left to donors. Yeah, who's going to donate? You? Oh, that should be left to the church. And where's the church going to get their money? It's like, let's be honest here. Doing it off taxes is the only reasonable way, in principle, for any of this to actually work. It's like, oh, if you're 20 and liberal, you got no heart. If you're 40 and liberal, you got no brain. I'm 45. I'm probably more liberal than I ever was. Will probably tick people off that keep uploading left-wing political stuff. Protests and rallies that I go to here in Niagara Falls and down in Buffalo. It's going to tick people off. So what? Then do what I got to do. The whole situation with the Epstein list shows how easy it is to dupe people. It's pretty clear that a lot of people bought into Pizzagate adjacent conspiracy theories, and the Epstein list thing happened to be close enough to Pizzagate and actually real. And yes, I think there's probably Democrats and Republicans on that list in roughly equal number. And I've said, I think the reason we aren't seeing that list is because most people consider PDFs about the biggest rat bastards in the world. And anyone who shows up on such a list is liable to get weeged. As the law ain't going to need to take care of them. A couple Luigi Mangione types is all it takes. And that's undoubtedly what had happened. think it was George Carlin, you know. It's a big club, but you ain't in it. Left, right. At that point, it doesn't matter anymore. It's all about the power. Why do you think the more politically active Democrats are the ones that don't make millions? The ones that come closer to a working class background. Because the others are dinos. You get to that point, it doesn't matter whether you're left or right. You don't care, you just want power. If you got people closer to me, you know, that don't have a lot to live on, we don't care about power. We just want to do the right thing. So, it seemed to be a bit bigger. This thing down in Niagara Square. Like, you know, Niagara Square is a good place. It's right in front of City Hall in Buffalo. It's right on the bus route, 40 and 77. So I just have to take one bus from my place there. You know, it's downtown. Everyone's going to be passing through. So, yeah, it was bigger compared to the two events that I was to in the park downtown. Here, you know, Niagara Falls, New York. Niagara Falls is a small town as far as cities go. Buffalo is one of the biggest states in the city. Biggest cities in the state. Tripped on my brain there. Yeah, Buffalo is one of the biggest cities in New York. So it makes sense there were a lot more people there. And this considering that this was on a Thursday. The protests I was going to before, those were on Saturday. Well, maybe I don't think the Flag Day one was. But the Elbows Up for Canada, that was a Saturday. So it's like, naturally they had more. I prefer to stay in the falls. It's easier. I can just walk. They got something in Niagara Square. That's not. It's not hard for me to get to Niagara Square. I was at an Occupy protest back in 2011. We had an encampment down in Niagara Square. I was only there for like a day. Went right back home. I'm not really the type of person who likes to get politically active. I prefer to stay in the background. It's like, you know, I mean, it's kind of my shtick at those protests that I'm, you know, my name is blank, 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 and I just don't give a name. It's just a thing. It doesn't really matter. I'm just a face in the crowd. I draw a lot of attention because I'm a freak. And I exploit that. Yes, I go to protests and let my freak flag fly. Nothing too out of the ordinary. And I don't want to get too out, outre. I'm just a weirdo who's more normal than I look on the outside. This rant is going on longer than what I was talking about. Jesus, freak out.